Cześć, witam Was z jednego centrum finansowego, gdzie za chwilę będę przeprowadzać wywiad z Mikaelem, który opowie nam o cheerleadingu w Danii. Cześć wszystkim, dzisiaj z wietrznej Kopenhagi będziemy rozmawiać o cheerleadingu w Danii. Przedstawiam Wam mojego gościa, którym jest Mikael Sohn i na początku opowiem trochę o sobie, a potem już przejdziemy do duńskiego cheerleadingu.
Hey guys, my name is Michael. I'm with the Danish American Football Federation that helps cheer here in Denmark. I'm in charge of rules, regulation and judging in Denmark. I'm an international recognized judge by the ICU and I am a board member of the ECU, being the North European representative, and I'm also in the ECU Rulebook Committee and the ECU Judges Committee.
Yeah, you said that you're an international judge, so what is your biggest achievement as a judge?
Our biggest achievement as a judge has to be being a head judge at the ICU Worlds in 2019. I've also been head judge at Europeans and nationals as well and other international competitions. But the ICU head judge position has to be the biggest achievement.
Mm-hmm. Is there any higher possibility to get?
I don't know, actually. I think that is probably some of the highest achievement that you could get in cheerleading as a judge, but not just being a head judge, but also a scoring judge at the ICU Worlds is just an amazing accomplishment.
Dziękuję Ci bardzo za przedstawienie i powiedz mi, jak się rozpoczęła Twoja przygoda z cheerleadingiem?
I started cheering in 2005. I used to do gymnastics, but I had a really great friend that wanted me to try out for the cheer team, the local cheer team. So I did, and I made the team. So I started in 2005 and ended my relatively short cheer career in 2009. I did cheerleading, but also performance cheer, palm, at that time, and also group stunts. So that was an amazing time with great memories, and we were competing at Europeans and the IFC Worlds and Nationals, and did a lot of great placements in Denmark, being the national champions for many years, consecutive years, and decent placements at Europeans and placements
You mentioned also about competing in Japan.
Yeah, my first competition was 2005 in Japan, and I was so scared. Yeah, exactly. I was so scared, but it was a great experience. After all, we suffered from an injury just a few days before competing, so we had to change the entire routine and set up in a new person. So that was quite hectic, but it ended out being a really great trip with a lot of great memories.
W Danii cheerleading i futbol amerykański są w jednej federacji, choć nie było tak od samego początku.
So cheerleading started in approximately 2000 or 2001 in Denmark, being its own independent federation, the Danish Cheerleading Federation, and after a lot of years where the numbers were pretty stable, we wanted to increase in numbers and develop the sport even further. So we were thinking, what can we do to increase and maybe get recognized by the Danish Sports Federation, that is the governing sports federation for the governing body for sports federations in Denmark. So we decided that we could become a member of the American Football Federation because since cheerleading and American football is related somehow, that would probably be the best solution for us. And they had a lot of capacities for, they had staffs and a great background with knowledge on how to do things. So we ended up having a meeting with the American Football Federation in order to figure out if that would be a possibility. And then we entered the federation in, I think it was approximately in 2012, 13-ish, around that time.
Okay, but there's like no cheerleading in the name of the federation, so do they support you somehow?
The federation?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the American Football Federation holds 3 different sports. It's cheerleading, American football, and flag football. So basically, the federation supports all of the sports, and the time of the staff members are allocated to the various sports in order for everyone to have the same, the same gain from the same attention from all the staffers in order to develop.
Mm-hmm. So could you tell me now if cheerleading is recognized as a sport by Ministry of Sport?
So cheerleading is recognized as a sport here in Denmark under the Danish American Football Federation. So we are funded. We're getting some funds that are mainly covering some of the employees in the federation, but also the various. Like in Denmark, in order to get your funding, you need to make a strategic plan that goes for 4 years. So you need to, pay attention to some of the themes that you want to work on. Is it implementing special, like the adaptive cheerleading, or is it increasing numbers in social unstable areas, and or what do you want to focus on? And that is then approved by the governing body for sports in Denmark. And once that is approved, you'll get your funding. Okay,
so you are not recognized like as a separated sport, but as a, like all sports that are included into Danish American Football Federation.
Yeah, but they also need to approve cheerleading as a independent sport. So we were, when entering the American Football Federation, we were not recognized as a sport, but then we did a lot of work, and in some areas adjusted the sport in order to the National Sports Federation to approve our application. And eventually they did.
Odwiedziłam wczoraj Michaela na turnieju Spring Cup. Could you tell me something more about the competition?
So we changed the competition structure here in Denmark. We follow the school year. So from August till June, we have our season and also competition season. So instead of having nationals in the middle of the season, we wanted to have nationals where the athletes naturally peaks in their performances, and that would be in approximately May. So this year is the first time we're having a spring competition. So we are having nationals in May instead of a summer competition. And it was actually, Spring Cup was hosted by a relatively new club that did an amazing job. So we had a really great day yesterday with approximately 2,000 to 4,000 spectators and 1,000 athletes. So it was really a great day with a nice atmosphere and stuff.
Yeah, it was great, and it sounds a lot of spectators. Yeah. So how many athletes do you have in your federation? Like, of course, cheerleading.
Yeah, we have approximately 2,000 athletes that are divided into approximately 20 clubs. We have seen during the last 3 or 4 years a great increase in numbers, both in club numbers but also athletes. And even during the pandemic, we increased numbers. So that was quite an achievement.
Pandemia wszystkich nas dotknęła mocno, ale Michael mówi, że mają wzrost zawodników, nawet pomimo pandemii. So could you tell me how everything worked during the pandemic?
So basically, most of the coaches, they would have their, since they were not able to gather and train physically, They did it virtually, so they had Zoom classes for 1 hour a week or something like that, and did some exercises in the living room and really having fun. And also in order for all the athletes to still bond, even though they were not able to get together.
Szkolenie trenerów w federacjach to jest jedna z ważniejszych rzeczy, którą powinni się zajmować. I zapytam się teraz Michaela, jak to wszystko wygląda w Danii.
We have developed a coaches course for cheerleading in Denmark. So basically how the system works is that the national governing body for sports in Denmark, they have their standard themes and items that you need to go through, and you'll be at those classes with the other sports that are. So in those classes you are to take that theory and put it into your own sport while you're attending the courses. So you might go to a course where you will have soccer players and taekwondo people and cheerleaders as well. So it's quite a great place to learn, because you try to adjust the theory into your own sport, and then you can also reflect on how the other sports are reflecting on the theory as well. And next to that, we have some additional courses that you need to go through. It's like the rules courses, so you will get to know the rules from level 1 to 6, and you will also get taught in how to put a routine together and what the judges are looking for, and how to be a great role model when coaching, and actually how to coach, and the mentality of the athletes is also part of that coaches training. And it takes some time to do the coaches training. Well, we have I think it's 3 different tiers that you are going through, or levels. Mm-hmm. So the first level is 1 day, and then the second level is, I think it's 2 weekends, and then the third level is, I think it's 6 to 8 weekends that you're spending. Yeah.
That's a huge program.
Yeah.
How about the judges courses?
We don't have any judges courses here in Denmark. We only have a few judges here in Denmark, but what we do is that if we see a former athlete that really has the potential to becoming a judge, we will start out a mentor, what do you call it?
Mentor training?
Yeah. We will appoint a mentor for that specific judge in training, and they will,
like a tutoring program.
Yeah, exactly. So they will go through how to score and what to look for in a routine, and they will be shadow judge for our competitions, and afterwards we will evaluate on the process and the rankings, and after that they will go to the ICU judges course and hopefully pass that, and then shadow judge a bit more before they will actually be scoring judges. So we base it on like a tutor program.
Mistrzostwa świata są zawsze wielkim wydarzeniem dla każdego kraju, który bierze w nim udział, i też zawsze jest wielkim wydarzeniem tworzenie drużyny narodowej bądź wybieranie klubu, który będzie reprezentował kraj na Mistrzostwach świata. I Mikael nam opowie, jak to wygląda w Danii, jak jest konstruowana ichniejsza drużyna narodowa.
So basically our national team is formed by the various athletes from various clubs. So we don't normally have one team representing. We have an actual tryout that groups are coming in from around Denmark to go through this tryout and maybe make the team. So after the tryout, we will pick out certain groups, and then they will train during the year, and approximately 1 month or so, maybe 2 months before going to Worlds, they will set the team. So nobody is totally sure that they will make the team just right before actually going. So that makes it a great dynamic on the team, because everyone is fighting for their spot on the team. So they are really doing a great job.
Yeah, cheerleading is a competitive sport, so why not go?
Even inside, like in the internal process.
So what is the way of choosing the head coach of national team?
So basically, we open up the position for everyone to apply, and then we have a sub-board in the federation that will decide who will fit the role the best, and who will be appointed head coach and assistant coach of the national team. And basically, we strive to have a set of coaches that will coach for some years instead of having a new coach every year. So we want to make it a bit more consistent and stable, like coaching-wise.
Mm-hmm. And to let the coach develop a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Also to develop.
Wokół cheerleadingu krąży bardzo wiele stereotypów, w większości krzywdzących. Nie ulega żadnej wątpliwości, że przyczyniła się do tego popkultura, jak i filmy typu Bring It On, w którym jest ogromny poziom dramy. Zaraz Michael nam opowie, czy ich dotykają również te stereotypy.
So obviously a lot of the Danish population has seen Bring It On and all those movies.
All 7 parts.
Yes. And actually that maybe have changed a bit on how the stereotypes people are thinking about the sport in Denmark. Actually on the positive way, because when cheerleading started in Denmark, it was primarily stadium cheerleaders that were waving palms, and that was the ones being broadcasted, and everyone saw in the television and thought that this is cheerleading. And all of a sudden Bring It On came in, that had all this drama and stuff like that, but they also showed a lot of skills and stunts. So basically that changed the mindset a little bit. So basically what we have done in order to change that mindset of the Danish population, or at least tried, is for the federation to be more into the process on when we heard something about teams or clubs being requested to go to a TV show or an interview or anything like that, we would contact them and say, please focus on these parts rather than these parts. So, and obviously, even though that this sport might have a few injuries, but it's nothing compared to other sports. But basically, we, at least in Denmark, we find it that most of the interviewers, they really want to focus on injuries, because we are throwing up people in the air and stunting and doing pyramid and tosses and all that. So basically, I see why they are focusing on that, but that's not what we want the sport to focus on in those interviews. So we have had a few interviews where the athletes were not able to steer around that. So basically the main interview was about injuries, and yeah, we would like them to focus on all the positive things instead.
Yeah, but do you do any activities as a federation to show to people that cheerleading is a sport, is about a lot of skills, and this is a very competitive thing, not only waving palms? Do you do things like that as a federation?
Yeah, we do a bit, like we do some social media content in order to recruit more guys into the sport, but also in order to still change the mindset of the Danish population in order to know what cheerleading actually is.
Mistrzostwa świata ICU zbliżają się wielkimi krokami, więc Michael nam zaraz opowie, jakie są ich cele na Mistrzostwa świata.
So this year we are sending 2 teams to Worlds, a senior level 5 team and a senior all-girl premier. So the other one is co-ed and premier. And basically we are way more stronger in all-girl than co-ed, which is also, like, historically we have had it a bit tough times recruiting guys into the sport, and there is the mass of guys in the sport in Denmark is not that big, so it's easier for all the girls to advance to the senior level 16, and there is a bigger mass. So that's why we are actually aiming for a top 5 with the all-girl team, and I assume approximately like a top 10 ranking for the co-ed team.
Zbliżając się już do końca tej rozmowy, zapytam się Mikaela, jakie są jego personalne największe osiągnięcia w cheerleadingu.
The most amazing goal that I would really love for would be that cheerleading became the national sport of Denmark, but that is not realistic. But I would really love to see the sport develop and increase in numbers, especially in numbers. Maybe being like 50,000 athletes or something like that. Be a really big sport in Denmark. That would be awesome. And my personal goal, I don't know if I have any. I think my main goal when I started judging was to become better and better and get more experience and get to travel. And I've done all that and I love doing it and I want to continue doing it. But the main achievement was being head judge at the ICU World. So after that, after that, my next achievement could be a head judge at Europeans again and ICU again. During the Olympic, yeah. Hopefully we will get there. We will get there soon, somehow and soon. But you'll never know. It's politics, and it takes time to influence the...
Yes, I heard at the beginning it's going to be in Paris 2024, and then the huge opening should be in LA 2028.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be in States.
Yeah.
So, but that's
hopefully
only like process.
Yeah. Like years ago, we were talking about having cheerleading in 2020 in Tokyo.
Well...
But that didn't happen.
It is how it is.
Yeah, it is how it is.
Okay, so we are done.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you so much
for
having me here and for this lovely conversation. And I wish you all the best in cheerleading and for making cheerleading a national sport in Denmark.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.